So, Shawn, let me start by asking you one of the most surreal moments in my life was with you and our mutual friend Michael and me standing in a park in Nashville, Tennessee. You were waiting to rehearse with the Nashville Symphony Orchestra, and this little guy comes out of the crowd.
Yes.
He's a Brit. He's got grey hair and a stick, and he wanders up to you and he says, "Hey, Shawn Phillips, the last time I saw you, I was recording you for Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band." And then, having talked to him for a minute or two, a Brit in the middle of Nashville with the Nashville Symphony Orchestra, he just disappeared into the crowd. What was all that about?
That guy, that was Peter Sullivan. He was a producer for Air Studios in London.
What song were you singing on?
Oh, a Lovely Rita Meter Maid. Background vocals.
We've just been doing one of these chats and thinking about the 1971 Lincoln Folk Festival in England. And one of the stars from the US that was there was Tim Hardin. Now, you played with Tim Hardin in Canada in the 60s and also with Joni Mitchell. What are your memories of Tim Hardin?
Okay, all right. Okay, first let's start with Joni. In those days, when you were booked for a concert, you were booked for 2 weeks at a time, and you do one set a night. And he booked me into a place called the Louis Riel Coffee House in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And Joni was a waitress there at the time. And she loved the way that I played 12-string, and she wanted to learn how to play guitar. So for those 2 weeks, every day we sat down, and she had a little gut string guitar, and I would give her pointers on playing guitar. So that's how I met Joni. Tim Hardin, I met in Los Angeles, and I had gone to Los Angeles just after I got out of the Navy in 1961, and I was playing the different coffee, all the different folk places, the Unicorn, all these different places. The Unicorn was owned by Herbie Cohen, who became Frank Zappa's manager. And anyway, I met Tim, and during the day, to make a living, I was working at a Union 76 gas station. Tim said, "Hey man, let's go to New York." So I said, okay. And we had this guy, a friend named Dave, who said he had a 1953 DeSoto Plymouth convertible. Tim and I were sat on the back with our feet on the fender, the back fender of the car, as we were driving through the thing. And we arrived in Amarillo, Texas. As we pull into Amarillo, it starts to rain. And I mean, starts to rain heavily. And we're coming up to a brick building that is just a garage with an open door. So we said, "Oh, pull in there." So we pulled into this garage. We didn't look around. We just pulled in and we turned left and found a parking spot right there. And we said, "We'll wait till the rain goes." And we're sitting there. I'm sitting in the front seat. Dave's sitting in the driver's side. Tim is the back. And Tim says, "Hey, man, let's smoke a joint." So all the stuff was in the glove compartment. So I'm rolling this joint. I'm kind of scooched down in my seat, and I kind of look around, and I realize that all the cars in this garage are the same color. Okay, and so I kind of raise up, and I look over at the car next to me, and in this gray car on the door is this black emblem that says Federal Bureau of Investigation. Okay. So, anyway, I say, "Hey guys, take a look at your cars there." So anyway, it had kind of stopped raining by that point. And so Tim and I hitchhiked to Fort Worth. Dave went on to St. Louis, and Tim and I grabbed our bags. I had my red 12 string. Tim had his 6 string and a 5 string long neck Vega banjo. We get to Fort Worth. We're hanging out in Fort Worth, and Tim was an addict. I mean, he was a smack addict, and anything he could find to get high on, he would do it. But anyway, we stayed at my grandmother's house in Fort Worth, and then we stayed for about a week, and finally Tim said my grandmother bought us tickets for the train to go to New York, and gave me $50, and we got on the train. We get to a town called Poplar Bluff, Missouri, at 2 a.m. in the morning, and we stop, and I asked the conductor, how long will the train be here? He said, about 20 minutes. So there's a cafe I can see right across the way. I want to get some coffee, so I go over there, and there's a mirror on the opposite side of the counter, and I can see the train. As it pulls out, I'm in the cafe, and I went to the station, and there's one guy in a taxi, asleep in his taxi in front of the station. I knock on his window, I wake him up. How much will it cost? Where does that train stop? Where's the next stop? He said, St. Louis. I said, okay, how much? He said, $50. I give him the $50. I arrive in St. Louis 5 minutes before the train arrives. And I get back on the train. Tim is sitting in his seat looking out the window. He's on the window seat. And he looks up, and I walk up, and I'm standing there, and I go, hey. And he looks at me, and he goes, where you been, man? I mean, we get to New York. We go in to get something to eat at the Night Owl Cafe in New York. And we have something to eat. They had a stage set up there for guys to perform. And if you perform, they make you a cheeseburger and stuff. Anyway, we eat. We go back outside. Tim says, I got to go over here. I got to go see somebody. I'll come back in just a little bit. I didn't see him again for 8 months. Here I am in New York City without a penny in my pocket. But he was an amazing man.
Shawn, was he a prolific writer, or did it come difficult as an addict?
No, it was difficult. It wasn't that prolific. He wasn't. If I were a carpenter and just a couple other tunes that he did, but otherwise he was doing a lot of covers, a lot of folk music. I did about six concerts with Yes. Okay, about the 4th gig on the tour, the sound guy was a young Dutch man named Jord Koppert, and we're in a brand new. We were staying in a brand new hotel on the outskirts of Amsterdam, and I mean it's really literally spanking brand new. No barriers on the parking lot or anywhere. About the 4th gig on the tour, Jord comes up in the elevator, dripping wet and freezing, and emotionally destroyed. Jord, what's the matter, man? He says, I've just put the gear truck in the canal in front of the hotel. Okay. And he had. Okay, so, all right. We go through the logistics to get the truck out, and I take him to a cafe. And I spent 2 hours calming this kid down. I said, listen, man, you need to understand, you work for Clare Brothers. It's the largest sound production system in Europe, okay? You're the house mix for Yes. It's taken you weeks to learn the show, okay? Nobody's going to fire you. Relax. It's okay. You need to understand that it's midwinter in Amsterdam. There's black ice everywhere, and shit happens. Okay, and that's all there is to it. And so that happened, and he 45 years later, he gets in touch with me in 2015, and he says, "I never forgot what you did for me, because it saved me. It saved me." He said, "I'm managing a studio in Carpinteria, California, called Rose Lane Studios, and it's time for us to do a project together. And if you have the material and you'd like to do it, the studio is yours from June through July." And that's how Continuance got made. He was the manager. And I started a Kickstarter thing and got enough money to pay the musicians and do that. And that's how that came about.
With all the things you've done, Shawn, you've never had what I call a pension song, one that keeps paying you.
There were two songs that came very close to that. One was Bright White, and the other was a song called We. Those two songs, they became singles on the American charts, Billboard and Cashbox and all of those. And but no, it's, you know, here's the deal about all that. I was living in Italy, and I loved living in Italy, and A&M Records really wanted me to live in the States. And I remember one of the vice presidents, he's passed now, one of the vice presidents was a guy named Gil Friesen. And Gil used to take me into his office, and he'd go, "Listen, this is a business, you know." And I would go, "Gil, for you, it's a business. For me, it's a craft, you know." And I said, I can't do both of those. I mean, I had to, at one point in my career, I had to make a decision. Was it going to be a businessman, or was I going to be an artist, you know, a creator? Because you cannot truly do both. They both require such an input from your consciousness. And you really have to concentrate on one or the other. And I just decided that I wanted to concentrate my efforts on.
Don't you need to compromise a bit?
You can, but I didn't, because I didn't want to do. I wanted all that free time, because yeah, I mean, I've got, at this point, I'm up to 27 albums now, and I'm still writing. I mean, in a year and a half from now, I'll do another Kickstarter thing, because I will have written enough material for another album. And I like that. I don't want to divert the process of creating music to having to deal with the numbers. It's you know, and keeping track of everything constantly all the time. And I just never did it. So
it must be bloody hard work, Shawn, because I've seen or read somewhere that you never leave the room until you've actually finished writing a song. Is that
That's
true?
true. That's absolutely true. Once I've written the first line, look, here's the bottom line. I have 3 criteria with which I write. They are anger, wonder, and technique. Anger is you look at the world around you, and if you're satisfied with what you see, then you're probably fucking certifiable. Wonder is to be attentive to every drop of rain on every blade of grass. And technique is keeping a balance between those two things. And, you know, they say it's an artist's job to articulate your perception of the world around you. Well, I've always tried to take that a step further. Not only do I want to try and articulate musically and lyrically, not only do I want to articulate both those things, but I want to articulate what I think I may see becoming in the future.
I was listening to you doing a live version of, forgive me, is it El Ballad or Le Ballad? Which way do you say it?
El Ballad.
El Ballad. I was listening to El Ballad. Now, every time you hit that bottom note,
yes,
the audience applauded.
Right.
Now, I believe that you can do 4 octaves.
I could. I used to. I now only have 3. I mean, guys, there's just some things you cannot change about aging. That's all there is to it. And I don't really. I don't really. I just can't get to a certain point, above a certain point at this point. But I can hit 3 at this point. But I can actually go lower than I can go higher.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the songs that I wrote were difficult to sing when I wrote them, you know. Yeah. So now, today, I mean, it's like it's really it's a whole other thing. But
for sure, I guess you don't get covered too much, Shawn. Anyway.
No, I don't. Very, very few. Although the rappers, they're sampling, you know, a lot of the stuff that I've done. I keep hearing stuff in rap songs that were taken off of A&M records, and so yeah, I get covered that way.
Shawn, do you think El Ballad is your best thing?
No, I think songs like All the Kings and Castles. I think Peter Robinson's arrangement of All the Kings and Castles. That song, All the Kings and Castles, won in 1973. Won the Yamaha World Popular Song Festival. They have 3 criteria of prizes. They have best song, best composition, and best execution. And I won all 3 first prize, and those with that, because we performed that with a live orchestra for that. And I think that song, and there are 2 other songs that I've written now. A song I wrote years ago that was on the Beyond Here Be Dragons album, a song called Moments, and another song that I wrote not so long ago, well, yeah, quite a while, Ascent, a song called Ascent. Those I think those are the 3 most important songs I've written.
Shawn, you've done a hell of a lot in your life.
Yes.
What are the things that you still want to achieve?
Well, I'd like to make a lot of money for one thing, but, I'm kind of leaving that off to the side here. We're getting a bit late, you know. But I just want to continue writing. Is what I'm doing. I want to. I love the process of creating a piece of music. And like the thing that Lewis mentioned about the concert with the Nashville Symphony Orchestra, you know, people say I mentioned that I did that, and people say, have you got a band, man? And I go, yeah, it's in Nashville. It's called the NSO, the Nashville Symphony Orchestra. Yeah, I got a band.
Are you Are you optimistic?
You know, it's an interesting question. I've been thinking about this a lot. And, you know, they say as you age, you acquire wisdom. And I'm going, oh, really? I must be missing something here. but anyway, I really got to thinking about it. And I came up with the conclusion that a great deal of knowledge and capability are only a small part of wisdom. I think the greater part of the wisdom that we have as human beings is to understand that your understanding, your acceptance, and your practice of complete unconditional human compassion is the greatest part of wisdom. And I think it's the one thing man, the species, the human species, can be incredibly, undeniably cruel and ugly. But I think it is that portion of each human being's compassion that allows us to continue on this planet as a species.
You use a looping system because you play solo and you have all this machinery, as we can see in the corner of the screen there. And you use looping a lot, don't you?
I went to see Ed Sheeran in Manchester in England. Yeah. And you talk about people not being able to afford a band. Well, Ed Sheeran can afford a band, but his whole set, he used loops throughout to do his whole set on his own. Absolutely amazing.
Is he, I have a question, does he do it in real time or does he pre-record the loops?
It looks like real time because he'll start off doing a part, get that loop running, then he'll do another part, and then he'll do another part. Okay, yeah, that's real time. Yeah, that's really looping. And I mean, that's the key to looping. The key to looping is you better be on one. Okay, because if you're not, it all goes to crap real quick, man. You lose all sync and everything. And no, for me, getting up with a single guitar, I mean, you know, after 56 years, I couldn't stand having just voice and guitar. There's only so much dynamic you can create with that. And I started getting into looping years ago now. And at this point, that's why I love looping, because what I just said about being on one, it presents a challenge to the artist that's doing it, because you really have to be on top of it to do it. And it makes the concert much more intense for myself and the audience. And I'm at the point now where I'm doing, you could probably, I could probably play you one thing that you'd only hear through the microphone on the camera, but I could play you one thing to give you an idea of what I have happening as far as doing something of what I would consider original in looping. Would you like, if I could play that for you? Let's have a try. Yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
Let me see. Let me just double check that you can hear the sound real quick. Let me put that there and hold on. There. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me get this together here real quick. And
Could you turn the camera towards where you're sitting?
yes, I can. Yeah, I can try.
Okay.
Wait. can do this. Let me take this around here.
There you go.
Put that there. Yeah.
Wonderful. No, you're okay there. You're okay there. Yeah.
No, that way, Matt. Hold on.